Business Autopilot. You see, I press record here in the top of the webinar, and that is, of course, because we are putting this in a replay on the Work Less, Earn More website. And isn't it great when somebody suggests something to you, and because of that one suggestion, your whole system becomes better? So Neil said earlier today that, hey, Erland, why don't you put the next webinar on the landing page of the membership website? That way we know when all the webinars are. And yes, I will be putting in all the rest of the webinars in a on the front page, and also I will be inviting you to them so that you have them clearly in your calendar. I think that's a great way to do it. So okay, Mark, you can't. You have my screen now. Okay, so I'll be. I can't actually see the questions. Usually, I do webinars in on two screens. So I'll have one screen where I have the panel, and then the other one where I have the actual presentation. So, but I think we should just bang on here, and then we'll allow for some questions later on. I'll try to do it as slow as possible, and so we can all take lots of notes. So business autopilot. This webinar is all about how to automate parts of your business and put it on autopilot. And there's a process to that. And so today we're going through something called Work the System. It's also one thing I noticed in the bootcamp this weekend is how do you get started in this? What are the first things you should be starting with, and how do you actually get somebody else to do something for you? So we're going to go through that in some detail. Number three is how to start. So how do we actually build a system that somebody else can do, and how do we keep that somewhere where other people can go and find it so that they know where it is? I'm actually sitting here in the business office in the hotel, and the lobby's just outside here. About 5 minutes ago, there were people everywhere here talking, and it was very, very loud. And for some reason, they all left. So it's now fairly peaceful and quiet. But if you hear some music in the background, it's simply because I'm in a hotel, and there are people here, and I don't own the place. I can't tell people what to do in a large degree. So now, step number four is what you should definitely not be doing. And the fifth step is getting Rich Dad right, because there's a couple of things in Rich Dad Poor Dad which he teaches, which kind of contradicts how he actually lives and what he actually does. So let's get started with Work the System. So I think something that we always have to keep in mind is no matter what kind of business we're in, we should always be making ourselves redundant. We should always be putting things in place so that we are not dependent on the business, and the business is not dependent on us. And that's just a good thing to do from the very early beginnings, because at some point you will be selling your business, whether it's in 5 years or if it's at the end of your life. So why not just build it to work without you from the beginning? And that way you're actually doing what you're going to have to do at some point anyway. And if you automate a business and then you decide to get rid of it, then everything's in place to do that, instead of having to sell a business cheap because you haven't put the necessary parts in place. So step number one is Work the System. And that is actually a book called Work the System, which I'm going to show you later on. This is again the biggest shift that separates the amateurs from the professionals, the kids from the grown-ups in business, because if you don't put business systems in place, and if you don't have people operating in them, and if you don't have a manual for how to run your business, then you're always going to have a small business, and you will be chained to it. But one thing I want to mention here is if you own a business, I know a couple of you guys do, and if you own a business and then you are stuck in it. I mean, most small businesses are, and it's because it's somewhat challenging to do. So don't worry. We can take these steps today, and we can start moving ourselves out of the prison business. So, but just bear in mind, don't feel bad if you are an entrepreneur that's stuck in your business, because you will actually be able to move yourself out of it, and there's a process for that, and that's what we're talking about here today. Just gonna check here quickly if there's okay, great. So we'll do questions at the end. I'm timing this, so about the 10 minute, but the last 10 minutes, we'll do some questions. Um, so the important thing to understand here is that there's different parts of a business. There's three different sections. You have sales and marketing, you have operations, and you have production. And if you're a solopreneur right now, you're doing all of those. So it's really about asking yourself, what part can I get other people to do? It's also about focusing on your talents. So if you're really good at sales and marketing, but you're doing lots of operations, then you should be getting somebody else to do the operations somehow. And then, as with all things in business, it's really about creativity. Yes, it's about skills, and it's about applying skills, but it's also about it's it's about in systems building. You have to be creative. You have to say, how can I do this? And then try people and such things. I'm not sure if there's like a given system you can just inject into any business. Um, so look for creative solutions. And the reason why it says 60%, 20%, and 20% is because that's the amount of time you should be spending on the different parts of your business. So a lot of small businesses don't spend enough time on sales and marketing, and that's why they don't grow so much. If you don't want to grow, then that's fine. The best way to grow a business is actually by referrals from your existing customers, keeping your existing customers happy, and then getting them to refer other customers to you. So this is just an exercise where you have to ask yourself, where are you spending the most time? In the bootcamp, we went through the business model canvas, which gives you an overview of all the existing parts in your business. This is good just to get an overview, so you can see all the different parts that are actually making you money. So this is a template you can find online. Just put in the business model canvas, and you can start putting in the different parts. And it's actually an exercise that's good to do now and again, because every time you do it, you'll discover something new. So because as you grow your business, it changes, and maybe some of the aspects of it will change in time. So you can actually go back to this and do it again. In a business, it's about creating this team of four people, and the CEO is basically the guy that's in charge of. If you remember this rectangle here, sales and marketing, production, operations, you just need a CEO to manage those aspects. So in the Philippines, this is how it works. There, I have a CEO called Rimon, the admin person is called Sheena, and Eduardo is the operations guy, and then Dax is the sales and marketing guy to the right. So that is how the business is more or less managed in the Philippines. And the rule of four is something that many people talk about, and it's meant to be that to be able to afford a team like that, you have to be spending around well, at least 150,000 pounds, maybe more likely 20,000, 200,000 pounds a year, to have a team like that in the UK. That's on the low side. But now with outsourcing, you can actually have a team like that for much less. So it depends on your business a little bit, um, but it's possible to build up a team in the Philippines that actually runs your business for you. And then you're of course working with them on adjusting a few things as a business owner. But the rule of four is powerful. The rule of four. All businesses in the whole world need these four people to manage the company in a good way. So just remember that. Try to keep your eyes open for those kind of people. Work the System is a book by Sam Carpenter. It's a story about a guy that buys a business. He was actually a hippie in California, and then he buys a business, and he he basically works in his own business for 20 odd years, and at some point he's just he's either gonna just give up, or he's going to do something. And what he did was he created a strategic objective, a general operating principle document, and a working procedure document. And it's explained in that book, but I'm going to give you the quick recap of it here in this webinar. One thing to bear in mind when building these systems, and I believe one of the reasons why most entrepreneurs don't move from a small business owner to a big business owner, or an operator to a business owner, sorry, is because it's actually it takes a bit of time to build the system. Like if you have a unique business, then building that one process and implementing it, it takes a bit extra time. But the thing to remember is, like, once you've built that system and once you've made it, then anybody can come in and run it. And that's what you have to do to start building up the components of your business, which are necessary to run it. So it's really about recording what you do and then communicating that in a good way to somebody else. You can do that yourself, or you can have somebody come in and ask you questions and then build it for you. It is cheaper to do it yourself, and if you've built a business, then you're certainly capable of making some videos and putting those into a format that is understandable by somebody else. So strategic objective is basically it's a kind of it's a 1 to 2 page document, which is basically um, why you started the company, what the goal is of starting the company. So, for instance, with Mr. Outsource, it's about liberating entrepreneurs. It's about helping entrepreneurs free themselves up by leveraging other people's time, talking about software and how to use software and how to get other people to use software to free themselves from their business. That is why I started Mr. Outsource, okay, to create to liberate entrepreneurs in the UK and the US, and basically create jobs in the Philippines. That's why that's what that company was started for. So the strategic objective is to liberate entrepreneurs, and that's the mission. That's the mission of the business. The second document is the general operating principles. This is basically the ethics of the business. We're actually going through these 3 documents tomorrow. That's why I'm in the Philippines, because even though we have these documents, we actually go through them every year, because the better the better the documents are at running the business, the more better it runs, and the happier staff are, and the happier owners are. Business owners also get happy from that, and of course, most importantly, our clients get very happy when we deliver the things that we say we deliver, and we have that consistency in our business. So general operating principles is actually the ethics of the business. So, for instance, we always call clients sir and madam, just because that is a Filipino custom. They do that down here as well, not only to me but to other people as well, and we just incorporated that into our business. So another thing is to communicate clearly with clients, we try to minimize emails to only 5 sentences. So every email we send to a client, we try to use no more than 5 sentences, because that's kind of a quick piece of information. Sometimes you have to send a more descriptive email, but we try to minimize it. So working procedures. So working procedures is more in terms of creating a consistent product, so that all clients are treated the same way. Okay, so a working procedure for us is that all imagery shall be delivered 24 hours after they were sent to us, or else we must let them know about it as soon as possible. That is a working procedure. Another working procedure is that all jobs must be logged in their Excel file after they have successfully been sent to the client. So we actually have a document called sending procedures, where all these things say. We have a specific way of naming the files that we send clients. Every job gets a job number, and that is at the beginning of the file name. That's just a way for us to know how many jobs we've done for the client. also includes date and the name of the client. So we are always working on our working procedures, but we actually have a book um, online with all the working procedures. In that is also all the techniques we do. So basically, how to do a clipping path. How to do a clipping path is in the actual document. So if somebody has a question, they don't go to the manager to ask. They actually just go to the document and they can see everything. And the cool thing is when you make a PDF document, you can press Control F and you can actually search the document, which makes it even faster for people to find what they're looking for. Consistency is key, and if we go to Dr. Robert Cialdini's Six Principles of Ethical Persuasion, which I think everybody in business should read and know, it's a brilliant book. If you're in business, you are in the business of people and selling to people, and you need to understand how to influence their choices. I think it's a brilliant book, and it's actually the sixth point here in his book is consistency. So if you go to a restaurant and one time the soup is really the shrimp soup is really good, and then you tell all your friends about it, and then you go back to the restaurant and the soup is really bad, are you going to go back? Are you going to go back if a place is inconsistent? You rarely go back because then you lose trust. And if we look at step number no, step, point number 3 here, liking. People buy from people they know, like, and trust. So that will decrease their like and trust for you because you are inconsistent. So think about that. If you don't have working procedures, then you will deliver an inconsistent experience to your clients. And that's what stresses people out as well. That is what stresses people out, and that's what stresses out business owners. Business owners get stressed out when they're always worried about clients. Stress is fear. Stress is the same as fear. Fear of not pleasing your clients. Fear of not delivering on time. There's so much fear in business, right? So let's try to minimize that by having a working procedure document. So in that book, that is the key learning from that book. Another key learning from the Work the System book, not to confuse what book I'm talking about here. I'm talking about Work the System. Another part of the book I really enjoyed, which I just want to share with you, is that he writes how 98% of the time, all systems are working very nicely. That means, so in any given day, you wake up, your alarm goes off, and then you step out of bed, there's a floor, and you put your shoe on, your laces don't break, etc., etc. But then at the end of the day, we tend to think about that one thing that happened which annoyed us, like uh, maybe you forgot your lunch and you made a special lunch, and you think about that all day because you forgot your lunch, but everything else has actually been working pretty well. The boss picked you up at the right time. You came in time to work. So most of the time things are working. I think as an entrepreneur, it's important to remember not only the stuff that goes bad, but also the things that go well. And the reason for that is because you're always thinking about bad stuff. Then you'll continue to think about bad stuff. Um, Compounding is something that I'm a big fan of, and I talk about it a lot. I just think it's a massive principle. So, for instance, after this webinar, I have a coaching call, and after that coaching call, I'm going to do my daily walk. I do a daily 15-minute walk every day, and I want to do it after after the coaching call. It's then 10 o'clock in the evening here, and I'm jet lagged, so I would want to go to bed, but I'm going to do my walk because I know that exercise is compounding in my life. And it's easy to do and easy not to do. It's a bit like creating a system in your business is easy to do and easy not to do. So it's important that we do these little habits because every day they compound and they're adding up. So if you don't do them, it doesn't matter from one day to the other, but if you keep on not doing them, it has a big effect on your business. So my goal for you today is to actually build one system for your business so that you can start building that manual that you can hand off. It's sort of a done for you. That's when it becomes a done for you business. because that's when you can just say, here, this is what my business does. And of course, one of the companies I really admire in terms of business autopilot is McDonald's, because they have manuals on everything. And the challenge, of course, is to not lose your business's um, unique selling point, your uniqueness when you build these manuals. So you can look at companies like Sappos. Sappos has a very they have working procedures and all things like that, but in their working procedures, it's like, be yourself, be friendly. It's more important to be friendly than be profitable. Those kind of things. They have a lot of these things built into their culture, so you can actually keep a lot of your uniqueness. You just need to write about it in the manuals. It is hard to change habits. So if you're in a business right now and you're doing stuff, and you're every month flies by, and you're just seems like another month, it's because our habits are really, really strong. And to change habits, we actually have to slow down. Um, it's written. I read about that in Maxwell's Psycho-Cybernetics. He was a psychologist that studied change in people, because when you go and have a facial, you're basically changing part of your feature. And a lot of people didn't change, even though they had a really good facial done. They didn't change their habit, but other people changed their habits. And he started studying what creates habitual change. And he said that you have to slow down your brain first to change a habit. And it's a bit like your business as well. You have to slow down your business a bit first to build in the systems, and then you can go fast. That's what I mean by go slow to go fast. Because first you have to slow down, cut costs, and then focus on automation. And after that, you can go fast, because then you have those parts in place. And if you go fast before that, you will fall apart, because you won't be able to handle the sales even though they come. Um, One thing that I always do, is I calculate per year. So, for instance, 5 minutes from one day to the other doesn't really matter, but five minutes over a whole year does. So basically, going for that 15-minute walk, I'll probably do. I don't know how many steps I do exactly, but it's quite a few steps. Now I can skip it, or I can do it, but I'm going to do it because it's part of my daily routine, and it becomes a lot of steps in a year. Um, so how to get started in this? And I was thinking about this weekend, and I didn't have time to show you this, because these 2 days they just flew by. So I came up with this cookbook thinking in relation to um, where to start. Okay, I came up with this cookbook thought process. But first and foremost, where to start is about understanding what parts of your business you should start with. And the typical thing you hear is the Pareto principle, like the 80-20 rule. So basically 20% of your clients are 80% of your turnover, for instance. So, and that's where you should be asking yourself, what one thing can I do in your what one thing can you do in your business today to get real leverage? But I don't think that's the right answer, because it's more about the pains. I would start outsourcing the pains, because some of you guys are doing accounting, some of you guys are trying to do your own website, some of you guys are uh, just doing too many things. And I would start with the pains. So, for instance, the things that you hate doing, write a list on a piece of paper about the stuff you don't like doing, and then start outsourcing that, start automating that, because that's the kind of stuff that really drains you. So I would start with the pains. Some of the pains for me were definitely accounting, um, customer service, yes, because it was repetitive. If you have to keep on giving the same answer to people, then it's repetitive. And one thing you can do with customer service is, one, do an FAQ and have it really clear on your website. Another thing is you can improve the design of your website so that people don't have to ask you the question because it's clear there. Um, Sales, there's a lot of pain for entrepreneurs in doing sales. There's a lot of pain in doing marketing. Um, it's also pain in doing the actual work. With doing the work, I mean, for instance, delivering on orders. Yeah, packing things in cardboard boxes. So start with the pains. Start with one. Don't try to do them all. You can't do them all at once. Just start with one. And I suggest if you're doing your own accounting and or somebody else is doing your accounting, then get that done to get that sent to somebody that's really good at accounting. Um, it'll just make everything much easier. So start with the pains. Start with automating the pains. Here's one pain that I did something about. Basically, our invoicing system. I would go and check if bills were paid, and I'd have to cross them off. It, just a long story short, it was a very complicated system. I used to spend at least 2 hours a week, and then I worked on the system. I worked the system, and I said, you know what, this is a pain. I don't want this pain. It's not something I enjoy doing, and also I shouldn't be doing it. So how can I automate it? And then I went to the bank, and they have this solution where when the client has to enter a code to pay the bill, and when they pay the bill, it's automatically registered in the accounting system. And it's important to get these parts right. And I think the reason why I didn't do it earlier was because this is something I probably should have done years and years ago. And if you have an online business, for instance, and you have uh, 40 sales a day or 100 sales a day, then of course you have to really spend time on figuring out how to manage the numbers and how to automatically register numbers between systems, because that will compound if you don't fix it. So if you're starting an e-commerce business, or if you are in an e-commerce business, try to minimize the cost and the labor with the accounting. Um, for me, that's a big pain. That's why I'm using it as an example. And again, the 1.5 hours saved doesn't seem like a lot per week, but if you add it up into 52 weeks, it's actually 5 days more a year where you can do whatever you want instead of sitting on your online bank. Um, in the bootcamp, I showed a couple of tools. There was the ScanSnap. I showed you how to scan documents with the ScanSnap, and then you drag and drop them into Evernote. And there's actually a YouTube clip on how to do this. In the video, I came back from a seminar, and I had lots of business cards and travel bills and notes, and I show you how to actually automate that. Um, and it saves me a lot of time to use just these these two simple technologies, the ScanSnap and Evernote. Because in Evernote you can share a folder with your VA, and your VA can start working on the files in that folder. Um, and of course, we've made training videos on how to do things in different folders. So yeah, it saves time. 5 minutes saved is 5 minutes saved, and over a year it's 5 days. So keep that in mind when it seems like a little task, but it's actually a big task. Keep that in mind because it does add up. So how to get started? It's really about understanding other people. Have you heard of the book For Dummies? There are these books for dummies, and you can uh, you can get this dummies book for all things, for starting a small business, for programming, for whatever. And that's why I've chosen to use the same philosophy here in explaining you how to build a system. So what you need to make a widget, so basically the parts, how to put it together, and then measure the result. So this is the Business Autopilot Cookbook. And the steps are, first and foremost, you need a title. Then you need a picture. You need to know what ingredients you need to make whatever you're going to make in your business. That could be make a product, or it could also mean make a travel bill, right? How to make it step by step, written and video plus pictures. Try to explain it. Try to create the idiot's guide to making something. Try to make it the idiot's guide, because then everybody can do it. It's actually called inclusive design. Inclusive design means that when you make a product, you not only make it for a specific niche, but you make it for everybody, so that everybody can produce whatever you want to produce. And when it comes to what you sell in your business, niche is very, very smart. We're being very selective and focused. But when it comes to your instructions, you have to make the idiot's guide, because that means you'll cover more points than you would if it was only for a specific niche of people. And then it's all about measuring and testing the result, so that the employee can check and measure whether it's the right delivery. And then it's all about setting the frequency. So how often do you need to make the product? So let's look at let's just look at a recipe, how it's built up. And this is the same template. This is the same blueprint that you need for everything that's going on in your business. And you can start with one thing. Just start doing do this for one thing in your business. I'm not sure if it's your accounting, or if it's your customer service or whatever. Just start with one. Start making one of these, because then soon you'll have a recipe for everything that you do. So step number one is come up with a title. Come up with a title that is memorable, and make it searchable, so that people can actually find it later. So if this was my restaurant, I would people would search for prawns with lemon zest, and then they'd be able to find it. So step number two is have a picture of the product. This can be a picture or several pictures. I actually prefer a video, so that you can just take your smartphone, do a little video of the product, explain things about it, and then upload that to YouTube. So in a PDF or a Word document, you would have a picture, and then you can have a link to the video as well. So step number two is have a good picture of what you're making. And then step number three, here we see the ingredients. So basically, if you are printing t-shirts, for instance, you would have to have what color t-shirt, what size, what's cotton, and how do you use the printing machine, how many. Also, I like the preparation time. Having preparation time is a smart thing, because recipes are made for everybody to use, and that needs to be the same approach for your business. So this is also a one pager. Tim Ferriss talks about one pagers. A one pager is when you put all you need to know about something on one page. So with this one page, you can make a prawn with lemon zest, gambarelli con scorsi di limone. Here's some text on how to put it together. People are either visual, auditory, or kinesthetic. Kinesthetic is basically people that have to actually do it to understand how to do it. They actually physically have to do it with their body. So how to put it together can be, you can use text there, you can use video there, or you actually maybe have to show them how to do it. The last one, I think, maybe you have to do it anyway, but if you have the text and the video, they have a reference point. One of the things that I've done with automating my business is oftentimes I make sure that the instruction is really good, and then I just leave it with people, and I say, this is what I want, and then they have to figure it out themselves. So try to find problem-solving employees. people that can understand how to take something and make it happen. Um, I think that's also important, and I think also that's why some of the reasons why I've been able to automate my business is because I looked for those kind of people. Measure and test. So teach them how to what to measure and how to test the end result, so that you can rely on them delivering consistency to your clients. Step number 6 is set the frequency. So, for instance, if this was a restaurant, you would say make sure there's enough pasta, make sure there's enough chicken. Uh, so basically, the frequency would be every morning check that you have the ingredients, because 20% of all orders are prawn with lemon zest. Um, so that is the blueprint for creating a recipe in your business. Those 6 steps. Let's just go through them again. It's come up with a good title, have a picture or a video and the video, ingredients. So basically, what you need to make it. You can also have preparation time and how many that serves. But again, it's your business, so you need to be. So, for instance, with the clipping path, it takes around 5 to 15 minutes to make one. Okay, so that's what we have in the working procedures is 15 minutes. Anything from 5 to 15 minutes. If not, it's a complex clipping path, and you need to put it differently in the document. That's getting technical. Okay, how to make it step by step. Make it an idiot's guide. Measure and test result, and then set frequency. Okay, that's the same for everything in your business. You need to break it down into components, and then build it up so you have a whole reference guide. And measuring is important so that you know what's going on. Knowing what to measure is a different webinar, but that's why we add measure in the recipe, because you might want to have them add add or subtract that they have in fact delivered the order, and that they have used such and such components, and now there's only so many components left. And you might want to add there that, oh, if there are only 5 components left, then reorder the components. Okay, so it is really sitting down making a cookbook on how to run things for you. Demo time. So the easiest way to build a system that I use is something called ScreenFlow. And again, it's important to remember that people learn in different ways, and you need to keep that in mind when you're making a system, because people are different. You can ask people what you think they are, but if you're trying to make an inclusive how to document for your team, then you need to actually have all elements. Video is very, very powerful, and I make videos all the time, and I actually do that with a program called ScreenFlow. I also make videos to send to my staff in the Philippines. So I actually create short videos just to explain things, and I use ScreenFlow for that. Or I sometimes also just film myself. So if I want to congratulate somebody or just connect on a deeper level with them, it's so easy just to take your phone and just make a short video of yourself and then email it to them, because it creates a deeper bond. We have videos on all our websites. We have me introducing the service and telling a story about it. And the way to do that is basically to answer the questions who, what, why, and how. And it also becomes a scalable piece of real estate, because once it's on YouTube, other people might be searching for image editing, and they might come across this video, which then leads them to our website. But the point of this video is actually just to welcome people to our website. So if you're on a PC, a lot of people are on a PC, then the software is called Camtasia. You can see that on the lower part of the screen here, Camtasia for PC, ScreenFlow for Mac. These are key tools in working on systems. I also want to show you a system called Sketch. Frederick, hello, Frederick. So here is a program called Sketch. It only works for Mac, but you can use Awesome Screenshot for the PC users. So basically, what I can do is I can draw on the screen like that. Let me just minimize this a little bit. But basically, I can draw on the screen, put on arrows, and I can also write here. I can write and put in, this is where you must reply to questions. And it's very easy to send an email to other people. So Sketch is another useful software that you can use when you're automating systems, creating systems. So basically, what I would do here is I would just drag and drop this into the. I would just here it says drag me, so I can drag it. I can actually drag and drop this into here, I think. Yeah, there we go. So if I press play here, now you can see that I just dragged that screenshot into the presentation itself. So Sketch is very good. Now I'm doing things that I don't know what I'm doing there. Okay. So use this simple software. They're most of them are free, and they're like $100, and it's just put things into documents as well, and remember to back them up. We've all heard of people that have lost lots of files because they haven't backed things up. So if you're visual, I always draw processes. I have a big whiteboard in my office, and yes, you can do it on a piece of paper, but actually I draw on it. I take a whiteboard and I draw on the big whiteboard, and I make lots of drawings, and it's a way for me to think. And there's not one way to create a system. There's many ways. So part of the process in the beginning can be drawing, and then maybe after that you do a screen capture. But try not to make the system perfect in the beginning, because it'll improve. You'll be working on it for a while and improving on it, and the more you do that, the better it'll be. And the sooner you start getting somebody else to do things for you, the more freedom you will have to build more systems. And then the more systems you have, the more money you make if they work. So find a way. Record it on your screen. I do this all the time. I'm doing it right now. This webinar is being recorded, so I'm always recording and working in that kind of way. It's very easy to upload to YouTube and then just send people a link. We have a bunch of videos that are used internally that are part of our working document. And then email the link to the person that needs to learn it. If the person's in the Philippines, then send it to the Philippines. Check that the system works by asking for a specific delivery of that product. So if it's posting a new product online, if you have an online store or you do drop shipping, if it's like posting a product online, then make a video on how to do that. Email them what they need to do it, and then get them to do it, and then you check. And then after that, you go back and you ask for feedback. Okay. So that'll be a bit like tennis for a while. You have to play back and forth for a while, but once it's set, all you have to do is set the frequency. So basically, you can say, please check every day for emails on products to upload, and then you have to send them the files. But maybe you ask them to find the files, right? And then they email you with what products they have uploaded. It's really down to your ability to delegate and to teach other people how to do something. Measure as much as you can. Get the numbers, get the data, because it gives you optics. Then there's this big thing again. We sort of think that we can just build something once and then it'll be perfect. But we're actually learning a lot more from letting the system fail. And the first time you build a system and you get somebody in the Philippines to do it, it's going to fail. They're not going to do it correct. And that's when you need to go back and you need to say, oh, how can we do this better? Have you tried this? Have you tried that? And then the more you do that, the better the system will work. So failure is good when you're building systems because you learn from it and you do it better. I probably have told you about the first time I did a webinar, and I didn't share my screen, and people were putting into the chat box that they couldn't see my screen. So when I saw here that Mark couldn't see my screen, I was like, okay, must make sure that people can see my screen, or else it's a bit like a radio show. It's like you're using um, only one of your senses instead of two. It's actually something to think about when building systems. Is that we have five senses, and the more you can involve them, the better, because then people learn quicker. Hope that's clear. But focus on visual, kinesthetic, and hearing. Basically, that was it's embarrassing. Visual, auditory, and kinesthetic. Those are the ways we learn. And the more you sharpen your saw, the more money you will make. The better your system works, the more money you will make. The better your system works, the more money you can get for your business. So think about that when you're writing your manual, when you're building your first little key components. That the more of that kind of work you do, the more money you will be making. And I think that's really cool. Like tomorrow when I go into the office, I'm really excited. I'm really excited to see and go through the manuals and see how we can change and improve things, because the more we do that, the better everything works, the more happy clients we have, etc. So sharpen the saw is a massive big part of Autopilot. Discipline equals freedom. You have to follow your system. You can't just if there's a rule that you have to treat customers in a good way, then you have to treat customers in a good way when you interact with them. It's not only your employees. So how you do anything is how you do everything. But be disciplined about your systems. Don't cut corners. Like just do. If you found something that works, then you also have to do it. Yeah. If accounting's a nightmare and you figure out, oh, if I just stack up all of these travel bills every Friday and I just do them, then that equals freedom, because then you're not spending your whole weekend thinking about them. And I think about this a lot, like discipline equals freedom. Yeah, I can wait with doing that little task, but if I just do it now, I can actually feel free afterwards. Your staff are always looking at you as well. Like once you have lots of staff, they're actually looking at you to be disciplined as well. So if you don't do it that way, then why should they? If you decide that this is a rule on how we do things, then you have to do things that way. What you should not be doing. I found this picture online. I thought it was pretty good. I was a bit like that when I was a kid, actually. Not telling people off, but the one that went, or why not? But don't do your own accounting. It is the most painful thing for an entrepreneur to do. So get your accounting done by somebody else, and if you have numbers, all businesses have numbers going in and out. Just get somebody else to do it and automate as much as you can. That is a big pain. I speak to entrepreneurs all over the world, and accounting is such a big pain for them. So do something about that. Law becomes a big pain. If I have a good lawyer, law can become a really big pain if you get sued or you don't spend enough time on getting everything correct in that area. That can be a big pain. So don't do your own contracts and stuff like that. This is the Stephen Covey productivity matrix, and he argues that you should be in the top two quadrants. So basically, manage and focus, but ideally we are only working on the focus part, so it's really important, but it's not urgent. So that is where you actually have, that's where you build the systems as well. Systems building you only have time for if you cut costs and have more time to actually put in place systems. So that is quite important. So the first step is actually cutting costs, slowing down, so you have time to build these systems. And the more you do that, the more money and freedom you will have. So I'm just laying it out there straight to you, because that is the fact. I've spoken to lots of successful entrepreneurs, and it's that process. Okay, unless you have time to pay, have money to pay somebody else to build the systems for you, really really smart people, then you have to do it. And I don't think anybody can actually do that part better than you. You can actually have a student come in and interview you about how to do it. That's actually a good idea. Get a smart student to come in and document everything you do, and then get him to give it to you afterwards. Lots of unemployed students out there. Understanding Rich Dad. I want to put this slide in because Rich Dad Poor Dad's all about being a business owner and being an investor. But when he is on stage, he is an employee. When he's doing his own travel bills or sending his travel bills, he's a self-employed person. So bear in mind that even though you're Rich Dad from Rich Dad Poor Dad, even though you're Robert Kiyosaki, you still operate in all the quadrants. It's just a matter of how much time you're spending there. Yeah, even if you only own stocks and gold, you're still sometimes working on them, and then you're an employee of your own business. I think that's an important point to understand, because there's so many people talking about how you don't have it to do anything. There will be small tasks that you have to do. Um, if you own a business, then you have to do some things. Okay, um, but you can have a lot of freedom if you do it right. So I was going to talk about communication hierarchy today, but I think we should do questions. Um, I think we should do questions instead, because that is important. So let's do some questions. A few of you guys were on the boot camp this weekend. Any questions in relation um, to the cookbook thing? I think that is a key component of building systems. It's just starting with one. Start with one system and get that right. Um, any questions about business autopilot? Um, I didn't mean to end it on a note where I said you have to do something. What I'm talking about is one day a week you can uh, get your reports right from your CEO. You get your measurements, and then you say, oh, let's shift it a bit like that, and then you kind of go on with what you were doing. Right, that's what I mean. And business autopilot starts with building that one simple system. Um, in the image editing company, the one of the things I added really early was the job numbers. The job numbers basically works that first you have the let me write it down. Um, I actually really like systems that are really easy to make. So I'm not often looking for software to solve it. I'm looking for just a simple process that somebody can put into Excel. So I would put first the job number 001, and then I would put the name of the client. So it would be webinar, and then I would put in the date, which is the 17th 10 13, and then we would put in like 60 minutes, right? Um, so that would be this is an example of a job number, okay, for the image editing business. And then this would be added to Excel, where we could see the client. Okay, so let's look at one of the client sheets. The internet here is little bit slow today, but just put in some questions if you have any questions, like anything to know about how to build systems and how to get other people to do it. We weren't good enough at covering. Let's see, Blink is good. Okay, it's a long way to the service in California, it seems. Okay, the internet here is a bit slow. Right, there we go. Blink's good. Okay, that is not working. Um, that's a bit of a shame. But okay, so basically, in the Excel spreadsheet, we just have an overview of all the jobs and how many images we've edited, etc., etc. And then at the end of the month, it became very easy for me to invoice at that time. That's one example. I think Excel is probably one of the most powerful tools in automation when it comes to outsourcing to the Philippines. So any easy task you can do like that, that's perfect. Any more questions, guys? I will be better at next week. We are doing more on software and gadgets, more on simple stuff we can use. What free software I use, how to fit your office in a shoulder bag, how to choose software, easy techniques to automate your business, and future for small business. So that is what we're covering in the next webinar, titled "Software and Gadgets," because we love gadgets, right? Okay. It was a pleasure to be here with you today. I'm sorry about the time confusion, Neil. Great to be here with you guys.